What happens when you win the race before before you've even learned how to run?
Oh, that is the perfect way to phrase it.
Right. Like, I want you to just imagine for a second having millions of dollars in the bank and a massive international apparel endorsement.
And, stadium security details escorting you through just swarms of screaming fans.
Exactly. And all of this before you are even old enough to attend your junior prom.
It's wild to even think about.
It really is. Today, we are looking at the ultimate modern sports paradox.
Yeah, we are dissecting this incredible piece of journalism by Obsidian A. Freeman. It was published by Fazioli Publishing.
Great piece.
Oh, absolutely. The article is titled "The Rise and Fall of Mikey Williams," and it serves as this clinical breakdown of the modern hype machine.
Yeah, we are tracking a prospect who was given the ultimate victory lap before he had to experience the struggle of the actual marathon.
Exactly.
And for you listening, we are not just doing a standard sports recap today. We are taking a deep dive into the raw realities of the modern NIL era.
The name, image, and likeness era.
Right. And what mechanically happens when the economics of potential completely outpace actual skill development.
Because it's really about the architecture of a career, how brands assess risk.
Yeah, and the very real psychological fallout when a teenager is handed the keys to the kingdom based entirely on viral mixtape.
It's a heavy burden for a kid.
It really is.
Okay.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand the collapse of this particular empire, we have to look at the incredibly faulty foundation it was built upon.
Yeah, so Fazioli Publishing starts us right at the absolute zenith of his early hype.
The peak?
Right at the peak. As a high school freshman, Mikey Williams was a physical anomaly.
I mean, anomaly is almost an understatement.
Truly. At 6'1", he stepped onto a court for his very first high school game, and he scored 46 points.
46 points in his first game.
Yeah, and we really have to contextualize what that actually means on a basketball court.
Right, because we're talking about 14 or 15-year-old kids.
Exactly. At that age, most kids are dealing with awkward growth spurts, poor coordination.
Totally. A complete lack of functional strength.
But Williams walked into that gym with adult-level explosiveness. He had this raw power and verticality that was just unmatched.
Which completely breaks the geometry of a high school basketball game.
It really does.
Like when you have a player with a 40-inch vertical leap and just superior speed playing against regular 14-year-olds, you don't even need a playbook.
No, not at all.
You don't need to understand defensive rotations or offensive spacing. You just give them the ball and watch them jump over everyone.
And that sheer physical dominance translated instantly into the absolute currency of the modern era.
Attention.
Yes, pure attention. His social media following just exploded, basically eclipsing the follower counts of established professional athletes.
Which is crazy, and the attention didn't just stay on Instagram, right?
Right.
It materialized into unprecedented financial leverage.
That's the crazy part. Williams became the trailblazer, like the absolute beta test for the entire NIL era.
Because historically, compensation in sports was the lagging indicator of skill development.
Right, you had to earn it first. A player puts in 10,000 hours in an empty gym, climbs the ranks of college basketball, proves themselves against elite competition.
And then, and only then, do they get the shoe contract.
Exactly. But Williams inverted that entire economic model.
He really did. He signed a massive deal with Puma while he was still, taking high school algebra.
Yeah, he became a teen millionaire before he ever stepped foot on a college campus.
And the real insight from Fazioli Publishing here is how that NIL money fundamentally alters the athlete reward cycle.
Oh, absolutely.
It's I kind of view it like a Hollywood child star.
How so?
Like a kid gets the mansion and the international fame before they've ever even taken an acting class. We're essentially paying for the movie trailer before the script has even been written, let alone filmed.
That is a great analogy.
Right, so my question is, did the Puma deal and those NIL millions actually change his developmental trajectory? Or did the hype machine just mask the fact that he was simply an early physical bloomer?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the market was buying his engagement metrics, not his basketball analytics.
Wow, okay. Say more about that.
Puma wasn't investing in his pick-and-roll defense. They were investing in his millions of followers.
Because followers move product.
Exactly. He proved young athletes didn't have to wait for the NBA to get paid. But at the same time, it removed that traditional hunger and urgency that usually drives prospect development.
The hunger to make it out.
Right. And on the court, the illusion of the viral mixtape eventually has to meet the reality of structured basketball progression.
Which brings us to his transfer to Lake Norman Christian.
Yeah, a move that was intended to expose him to tougher prep-level competition.
But the immediate result of facing that higher-tier competition was a stark statistical drop.
Very stark. He went from averaging 30 points a game down to 21 points a game.
I want to push back on the prevailing narrative for a second, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because the Fazioli article notes that scouts began questioning his work ethic, right? Wondering if the social media fame was distracting him.
They definitely had their concerns.
But isn't this statistical drop-off just standard physical leveling?
Mhm.
Like the kid with the early muscle development dominates 8th grade, but by the time everyone is a junior, the rest of the players have physically caught up to him.
I see your point, but I wouldn't let him off the hook that easily.
Really? Why not?
Because physical leveling is absolutely a biological reality of youth sports, sure, but the lack of fundamental skill progression is a completely separate, controllable variable.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
This is where professional scouts started raising massive red flags.
What were they seeing?
Well, they noted that his jump shooting mechanics were wildly inconsistent. His defensive awareness was virtually non-existent. Yeah, and his ability to actually read a defense and facilitate an offense hadn't evolved since his freshman year. He was relying entirely on athleticism.
So building a basketball career on early physical dominance is kind of like putting a massive flashy roof on a house with a shallow foundation.
That's exactly what it is.
The viral mixtapes are the curb appeal. The dunks look incredible on an iPhone screen. But the second a storm hits,
Which means facing college-level defensive schemes.
right, that house collapses because there is no structural integrity holding it up. There is no fundamental footwork.
That is the exact mechanical failure we are looking at here. At the high school level, a superior vertical leap means you can just elevate over a defender for a layup.
You just jump higher than everyone else.
Exactly. But when you transition to elite prep schools and eventually college, teams don't play chaotic playground defense.
No, they play sophisticated zone defenses.
Right. They force you to shoot from the perimeter. They force you to make read and react passes in fractions of a second.
And a vertical leap cannot process a zone defense.
It simply can't. Those fundamental skills reading rotations, sliding your feet on defense, mastering a release point on a jump shot, those aren't genetic.
They require intentional, tedious repetition.
Yes, they have to be intentionally built. And the scouts were seeing that those tedious repetitions simply weren't happening.
But the sports ecosystem has a very long memory for elite potential, doesn't it?
It really does. Despite his falling recruiting rankings and the glaring holes in his game, the system still provided a safety net.
Yeah, he secured a high-profile college commitment to play at the University of Memphis under Penny Hardaway.
Right. And the calculus for Memphis seemed to be like maybe a highly structured collegiate environment under an NBA legend is the exact pressure cooker needed to forge this raw athletic ore into actual skill.
Because elite talent buys an athlete a notoriously long leash.
Oh, an incredibly long leash.
Yeah.
The sports machine is built to protect its investments.
Right. They will tolerate a lack of defense or a plateau in shooting if there is still a mathematical chance that a player's ceiling can be reached.
Because coaches always believe they are the ones who can finally unlock the puzzle.
Of course they do. But the leniency of the sports machine has a hard boundary.
And that boundary is usually drawn by university compliance departments and corporate risk managers.
Which brings us to the absolute structural collapse of his career trajectory.
The turning point.
Yeah. In April of 2023, before Williams could play a single minute of basketball for Memphis, he was arrested.
And allegations were incredibly severe.
They were. He was accused of firing a gun at a car full of minors following a dispute at his home.
Just a horrific situation.
He was facing 5 felony charges. We are talking about a potential 30-year prison sentence hanging over the head of a teenager.
The stakes instantly shifted from basketball development to life and death.
Right. And the sports ecosystem reacted with clinical efficiency.
Yeah, although Williams pleaded not guilty, and the charges were eventually dropped.
After he completed a gun safety course and anger management, right?
Exactly. But the mechanical damage to his career was already done. Memphis benched him for the entire season.
And his NBA draft stock just evaporated overnight.
Completely vanished.
It's like a tech startup CEO getting caught in a massive scandal the day before their IPO.
That's a really good way to frame it.
Because even with the charges dropped, how does a prospect ever scrub a quote-unquote 30-year prison threat from their scouting report.
They don't. The sports machine will forgive a player for missing jump shots, but it will absolutely not forgive a PR nightmare.
No. A brand like Puma or a university athletic department operates entirely on risk assessment.
Exactly. When an athlete is involved in a severe legal incident, especially one involving firearms, they instantly transform from a highly lucrative marketing asset into an untouchable liability.
Because the legal clearance on paper doesn't erase the reputational stain in the boardroom.
It never does. Corporate sponsors and professional leagues are risk managers first and basketball evaluators second.
That is so true. The moment that arrest hit the newswire, the entire infrastructure that supported his early millionaire status vanished.
The ecosystem that created the hype trap basically abandoned him the moment the risk outweighed the engagement metrics.
Which forced Williams into an agonizing position.
He had lost a full year of development at Memphis, his reputation was shattered, and he had to find a program desperate enough for raw talent that they would overlook the significant baggage.
Enter the University of Central Florida.
Yeah, the UCF era.
He transfers to UCF, which is a mid-major program. And this is a staggering step down in terms of national exposure and prestige compared to the blue-chip programs he was initially targeting.
A massive step down. But the logical assumption for a lot of fans was that taking a step down in competition would finally allow him to dominate again.
Right, like rebuild his confidence and repair his brand against lesser athletes.
But the reality on the UCF court has been a jarring wake-up call regarding the actual skill level of college basketball.
The Fazioli publishing piece details his performance, and the statistics are just a brutal indictment of his lack of fundamental development.
They really are. At UCF, he is averaging a mere 3 points per game.
3 points.
Yeah, and he is shooting an abysmal 32% from the floor.
So what does this all mean?
Oh.
Because a 32% shooting average tells a mechanical story.
What do you mean by that?
It means he's taking bad shots.
Yeah.
It means he can no longer create separation from his defender, so he's forcing contested shots, relying on an athletic advantage that simply doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, absolutely. At the Division I college level, even at a mid-major like UCF, the floor is packed with 22-year-old men who have spent 4 years in collegiate weight rooms.
So the freshman phenom is suddenly the weakest, least skilled player on the floor.
Precisely. He is no longer the most athletic guy out there.
And without that overwhelming physical advantage, his unrefined skills and poor defensive effort have rendered him virtually unplayable.
He went from being the absolute center of the basketball universe to struggling just to earn rotation minutes on a mid-major roster.
An afterthought, basically.
Yeah. The court is completely stripping away the social media hype and exposing exactly what he failed to build during those crucial developmental years.
So if he is struggling to stay relevant at a mid-major, is the NBA dream completely dead at this point? Or can that raw underlying talent that mesmerized the world when he was 14 somehow be resurrected?
Well, time is the ultimate enemy of the prospect here.
Yeah, the clock is ticking.
Fast. The window for professional development in basketball is brutally narrow. To have any statistical probability of reaching the NBA now, Mikey Williams has to execute a complete fundamental reinvention of his game.
He has to start from scratch.
Pretty much, he has to demonstrate a level of dedication to the mundane, unglamorous aspects of... Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the college basketball level is a ruthless meritocracy.
A meritocracy that does not care about your sneaker deal or your viral highlight reels.
Not even a little bit. Millions of Instagram followers can't help you shoot a higher percentage.
Right. The basketball rim does not expand because you have 5 million followers.
The analytics department of an NBA franchise doesn't care how many likes a dunk gets. They care about your assist-to-turnover ratio and your defensive plus-minus.
Which is exactly why the Fazioli publishing article uses Williams not just as a profile, but as a dire warning for the incoming generation of athletes navigating the NIL space.
It's a cautionary tale. Obsidian of Freeman distills this down to a few critical systemic lessons.
I'll get our first one.
The first is that the path from high school phenom to professional longevity is not a straight line. High school success does not equal an NBA career.
Because the higher levels of the sport require constant, grueling adaptation.
Exactly. Athleticism is the key that unlocks the door to the room, but fundamental skill is the only thing that keeps you from getting thrown back out.
That's a great way to put it. And the second major lesson is the illusion of social media currency, right?
Yes. Social media fame is not a substitute for real skills.
The NIL money is a massive influx of capital, but if it is treated as the finish line rather than early-stage venture funding, the athlete is doomed.
Because the hype evaporates the second the production stops.
It really does. And the final and perhaps most structural warning from the article focuses on the absolute necessity of financial and career education for young athletes handling sudden immense wealth.
This raises an important question regarding the duty of care within the sports ecosystem.
Yeah, whose responsibility is it?
Right. How are these institutions actually preparing teenagers for the psychological and financial realities of the NIL era?
Fazioli Publishing points out that we are handing 16-year-olds lottery tickets, surrounding them with agents and yes men, and completely failing to provide the structural literacy required to manage a business.
Because in the modern era, an elite prospect is not just a player, they are a standalone corporation.
And looking at the entire trajectory, it is painfully clear that Williams bought into his own hype. He became a victim of his own early marketing.
It's hard not to when everyone is telling you you're the next big thing.
Exactly. When every external signal, the brand deals, the crowds, the media coverage, is screaming that you have already arrived at the mountaintop, the human brain naturally assumes the climb is over.
He believed that early success guaranteed long-term security.
He mistook the starting block for the finish line.
That is the defining characteristic of the modern hype trap. It teaches young athletes to value the perception of greatness over the actual mechanics of greatness.
It is an incredibly sobering pendulum swing to observe.
It really is a wild swing.
We started this deep dive looking at a 6'1" physical marvel, a teen millionaire with a Puma shoe deal, global name recognition, and the absolute world at his fingertips.
And we end it looking at a player fighting tooth and nail for sparse minutes on a mid-major college roster,
desperately trying to keep a fading dream alive in the wake of a near-disastrous legal collapse.
The mechanics of this story leave us with a vital question about the architecture of modern sports, something for everyone to really ponder.
What's that?
If society provides a 16-year-old with the financial rewards, the corporate endorsements, and the viral fame of a seasoned NBA veteran, what psychological incentive do they have left to actually endure the grueling, invisible suffering required to become one?
That is a profound question.
As the NIL era matures, we really have to ask ourselves, are we building an economic sports culture that celebrates potential so intensely that it actively destroys the drive needed to fulfill it?
That is a question that extends far beyond the basketball court, touching on how we value substance versus spectacle in every industry.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope this breakdown gave you a new lens through which to view the highlight reels, the brand deals, and the headlines. Keep looking past the hype, keep analyzing the mechanics beneath the surface, and we will catch you on the next one.